Paul Lil Sutton.
La Lil Sutton.
Welcome to... Ooh.
Whose pussy is this?
Yo.
We're here.
We're here. We out here.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to our first video.
This is our first video. I'm Lish.
And I'm Em.
You guys know our voices and sort of our faces, I guess. But it's cool to be videoing this, especially for this topic, I think, which is why we chose it.
100%. And I'm actually excited but nervous at the same time, for sure.
I feel, I'm actually excited to kind of get this out there. I guess I'm nervous, but I'm not really. It's almost like an anxiety, but in a
it's
really
a good
positive
nervous.
way.
You know why?
Yeah.
Because this is the same kind of nervous we had when we did our first podcast.
Yeah, it's that same, I've got a little bit
it's
of a sweaty
I'm
palm.
clammy because I know it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, this is a big one.
So today...
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath, because we're talking about abortions. And I guess obviously there's been a lot of talk about the 22 senates that voted against.
Yeah, the Alabama law.
Yeah, so basically about having, rape and incest excluded.
That's fucked.
It's fucked.
It's so fucked up.
But we're not really going to specifically talk about the politics today too much. I think we're going to share...
Do you know what's actually crazy about that law? I just kind of put these two and two together.
Flatmates having a chat.
Oh my God. Is that law in particular, so with the rape and incest, those are two factors which in New Zealand and I believe in Australia and probably a few other places in the world, actually deem your abortion
criminalized.
Yeah. But it doesn't make it illegal, but those are two things that mean that you actually can get an abortion that isn't illegal.
Yeah. Under certain circumstances, which we'll kind of delve into later as well.
Yeah.
But I think this kind of whole issue that's going on in our world at the moment kind of made us feel like we wanted to share our stories.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
my God.
Airplane mode.
Mine's on... Oh, fuck, it's not. I thought it was on Do Not Disturb. It's what I usually do.
We wanted to share our abortion stories with you and kind of our takeaways from it as well, and also help kind of guide you into what your options are and how it can, I guess, impact you, the people around you as well. Yeah,
for sure. And I guess, how it affected us now, or how it's affected us now, and how it affected at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Should I go first?
Yeah. I think you should go first because I think we had our abortions at very different times and ages.
Yeah. Okay, so I was 17 when I had an abortion, and I've only had the one. I was super, super, super young, and I was in a relationship. So at the time, I guess it was the kind of only option that I thought that I had. My boyfriend wanted me to keep the baby, and I just don't think that I literally could have. If I think about it, and I often have these fleeting thoughts about this, right now I would have a 13 or 14-year-old child.
Yeah, that's how long ago it was that you had your abortion.
Literally, though, someone who would almost be the same age as me if I had had the child.
Yeah.
Which is actually crazy. And, at the time, I think that the decision I made was a good one. I chose to terminate the pregnancy because I didn't feel like I could give the child the right life. I was still a child myself. I think that my grandfather just passed away. I was in this really quite weird headspace. And so I just think I was still so young, as much as I probably thought I was super mature. And also, this was my relationship that my boyfriend was abusive. So to me, if I had brought a child into that environment, I just don't think that its life would be very happy, or I don't know, like maybe it would, but that would be deemed on me being a really good mother to it, and at the time there was no way I could because I was still growing up myself.
And it's not just about the child's potential life, it was also about how it would affect your life and how, you know, your future would have been as well.
Yeah, like I was in high school, like my last year of school, so crazy. And at the time I didn't want to tell anyone about it. I was really like nervous and awkward, and like it was crazy because back then as well there was lots of slut shaming, and so
in high school in general I feel like slut shaming is a big thing.
Like I wasn't sleeping with multiple men, and I definitely wasn't like out there being super promiscuous, but even if I was, that's fine.
Yeah.
But also having an abortion doesn't make you a slut. Like it's not a negative thing that sluts go and do. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know. Like that to me just, but at the time it was literally how it was. Like I don't think I knew anyone who had had a pregnancy termination who was especially close to me. Like I'd heard of rumours about girls at my school that had, but like again, they weren't close friends of mine, so that's none of my business anyway.
Yeah, and like in high school you don't even really readily talk about sex like openly, like from first date experience.
Definitely not. I think you talk about like the first time that you have sex and maybe your first sexual encounters, but then it's just one of those things that just is happening. Yeah. And so you don't discuss it.
I mean, it could be different now because when we were in high school, I don't think social media and Instagram was as big as it was now.
Oh my God. No, literally not. My phone was a Nokia.
I had a Nokia 2100.
No, mine was even older than that. It was like I don't even know, 3315.
Did you ever do the thing where you like coloured the
thing to make the buttons?
Coloured in a piece of paper.
Yeah, I did that. I did rainbows with my highlighters
and shit.
Honestly, those were the days, and I played Snake for years. Like, you couldn't stop me.
Facts.
But yeah, so I was super, super young, and I think given that, I don't know, it's a very traumatic kind of thing to have happen at any age, I think. Particularly also my relationship was very rocky and tumultuous and just weird. It's funny because I still actually ended up staying with the guy for maybe 3 or 4 years after that happened. And I don't know, I guess I was a little bit trapped in that. But like he accused me of it not being his, and like I remember, so here in New Zealand you have to go through like a series of appointments basically before they allow you to just go and do this, because although it's technically legal, it's still under the Crimes Act, so there's elements of it that are illegal. And I had to go see like a doctor and get like an ultrasound, and when I first got the pregnancy test and all of this done, and I couldn't talk to him about it because he literally accused me of it being someone else's. Yeah. And you go for these 2 appointments, and so the first appointment you go to when you're actually going to get the abortion is just like you go to the doctor and they make sure that you're like sane, or that you're, you know, fit mentally and able and like whatnot
to make a decision.
And you're not allowed to go to that appointment by yourself. And the only person I could take with me was my mum. So like I can only imagine the fucking trauma that I put her through as a teenager, because she had to take her 17-year-old daughter to the hospital.
But like, how lucky that you had that option, because there are so many girls out there that
I know
are in households where they would not be able to tell their parents at all because of the consequences that they would
honestly
experience.
The karma that I might get one day as a mother, I'm looking forward to it.
I was such a horrible kid.
I was awful. But yeah, so anyway, she came along with me for that one, and then you book in for the second appointment, in which again, you would know you have to get someone to pick you up from, like you can't, after being in a surgery, you can't leave by yourself.
Yeah. Like that was like mine too.
Yeah. At that point I was like, fuck, who's going to get me? Like, I don't know. And my boyfriend actually did come with me to that appointment, which was nice. But it was awful, like such a horrible experience. I remember crying, and like I was really sick, like I threw up. I think that's also to do with the medication. But like it's just not a nice thing to do. And even though it was something that was like necessary for me, it wasn't a pleasant experience at all. Like I literally can still remember like the noises, because I wasn't like under. I was still really conscious. Yeah. And so hearing the noise of the suction vacuum will literally never leave my head.
It's so crazy that that was an option for you. Because my abortion and like my options now, well, not now, but when I had my abortion, like the procedure has, I wouldn't say it has changed a lot, but I was completely under.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being conscious while it was happening.
No, they give you, like, when you go to the dentist as well, they give you, like, NOS, that laughing gas. And so it makes you really woozy, but, like, I was awake. Yeah. And I don't remember if my boyfriend was in the room with me or not. I don't think he was allowed to be. But it's actually horrific. Like, I remember laying there with, like, my feet in the stirrups and, like, the noises and stuff all around. I was out of it, but I was still awake.
You're still... Yeah. You're conscious of what's happening.
And it's awful. And then afterwards, I bled for, like, 7 or 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, done. I didn't really feel anything. I think I felt really sad for, like, a little while after.
I guess it would be so hard to really process at that age.
Oh my God, I was so young. Like, I mean, it was so long ago now that I don't really quite remember. Like, I don't even know if I went back to school or, like, what I did. And at the time, I remember also I lived with my dad, and it was just me and my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he had no idea.
Mm.
Like, which is just so fucked up as well. That his, poor teenage daughter had just gone through this horrific, like, surgical operation.
Yeah,
my parents none the wiser.
My parents... I mean, no one in my family has any idea that I had an abortion still to this day. I mean, if they find this video, I guess they're going to find out the fun way.
Sorry, Mum and Dad.
Soz Mum. I'm fine now. Congratulations, you're not a grandmother.
I mean, I guess, though, that's kind of why we're doing this, though, too, though, is because...
We want to normalise talking about abortion.
It has to be normal, like...
Yeah.
I don't believe that it should be a form of contraception. Like, I don't think that you should just get pregnant and go out and have an abortion every time it happens because you haven't been smart in your choices, with contraception.
Yeah.
But I definitely think you should be open to talking about it because it is so fucking common and it happens to so many people.
Yeah.
Like, we're not the only two. And...
Like, when I found out, when I was pregnant, before I even found out, I had only known of one person who had had an abortion and had spoken to. And I was 22 when I got pregnant. Mm-hmm. So to be a pretty fully grown adult,
that's
to have only found out or like had one conversation and one abortion story throughout my whole life, I think is so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I was pregnant, I was so in denial that I was pregnant because I was like, no, people don't get pregnant. People don't have abortions. This is a myth. This is just something that happens in movies.
It is. It's like in movies or in like books and novels and stuff you hear about it, or like those crazy backstreet abortions and stuff that happen. Like, no one that you know, surely not.
No. And that's why it's an even bigger shock when it does happen, is because you just think this would never happen to me, and if it did, what do I even do to go about it? What are my options? Like, what are my avenues?
You kind of, you probably even, like, nowadays I hear about people who have had them and I'm like, what the fuck? That person? Like, it happens to the most least expecting. And that's what I was meaning about slut shaming before. Like, you might be sleeping around with multiple people. Yeah. Having an abortion does not make you a slut.
Exactly.
And so maybe there are slutty women out there who've never had one.
Yeah. And
I was in a relationship.
Yeah, we'll get to my story. But it's crazy how little abortion stories you hear, but the percentage is, like, what is it? One in 4 women in New Zealand, 1 in 3 women in Australia. That's crazy. That's how, like, you would know. You could go to your workplace and, like, point out 3 women, and there's a high chance that they've had an abortion, and you wouldn't even have any idea because no one talks about it.
No one does.
I didn't talk about my abortion openly until maybe 2 years after I had it. Mm-hmm. And even then, when I did have it, I probably told 3 or 4 of my closest friends. And they were really slowly separated apart. I was really private with it when it happened.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't remember. Like, I kept it to myself for a really long time, for like years probably. Yeah. And maybe told 1 or 2 people as well. But then I've never ever been ashamed of it either. So although I didn't tell anyone, it wasn't like I was just going to broadcast it and be like, hey guys, this is what I did. Like,
I was not necessarily ashamed of choosing to have an abortion. I was ashamed about getting pregnant. Only because of the scenario that I was put in. But we'll talk about that when I talk about my abortion story. But on a positive note, like, how do you think having that option for you benefited you in your life, both then and in the present?
I mean, I always think about it now as in how my life is now, because, like I said, if I could have like almost like a 14-year-old child.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And then if I think
we would not be friends.
my life would be completely different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know you at all.
No, I wouldn't even be in New Zealand.
Exactly.
Mm.
Like, I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't have been able to go travelling and do the cool things I've been able to have done in my life. I maybe wouldn't be doing what I do for a career now. I might not even have a career. I could have like 4 other children. I might be married. Like, which is not to say that I don't want any of those things in the future, but I definitely don't want them right now.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I think I just knew it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I knew it. And my boyfriend really wanted me to keep it.
Yeah.
Even though he had first accused me of saying it wasn't his, which it was, because there was no one else that I was having sex with.
Yes.
But, like, yeah, we were not meant to be together. And if there was a child in the mix of that situation, I reckon that could have changed so much.
He would still be present in your life.
Potentially, yeah. And, like, I don't know, that's just not... I can't see it happening. Like, you know when you are with a person and you just know either they're going to be the one or they're not. And I always never imagined my life was going to be with him. I was young, but I never imagined that he would be who I'd end up with. And so there's no way that I could have had a baby.
And you know what's even crazier is that we've talked about this like just recently.
Yeah.
Is that even 14 years later, since your first abortion, you still don't want to be a mum.
I literally don't want to be one right now.
Yeah. Like, how crazy is it?
And, like, I mean, we've
as
talked
in
about
timing-wise.
Yeah, timing-wise, for sure. Like, we've talked about, like, if I was to fall pregnant right now, I mean, I would not want to have to go through the whole termination all over again. Like, you don't wish that on your worst enemy. Like, it's not nice.
It's definitely the hardest thing I've done. 100% hands down. Yeah.
It's one of the worst things ever.
Yeah.
And, like... I would never want to do that again, but I also know right now that if I got pregnant, I would probably be my only option, which is fucked.
I mean, yeah, depending on who it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make smart choices for this pussy now. All right, do you want to tell your story?
Yes.
I'm getting real comfy here.
I feel like I have a really long abortion story.
We got time?
So, basically the circumstance was, I was in a relationship for like 4 years, and we broke up, and I started seeing someone really soon after that, and we had been like on 2 or 3 dates, and we still hadn't had sex yet, but I knew we were progressing to there, so I went to the doctor, got the pill. And because I wasn't, actually what's crazy is that my whole first relationship, we pretty much did not use contraception, which is really, really horrible. But I don't know how over 4 years I never got pregnant with him.
I just realised I didn't talk about how even I got pregnant. I went off the pill.
Yeah. And
I didn't have my period for 8 months. And so when I got pregnant, I didn't even know because I hadn't had my period for so long. We just weren't using contraception. We were just fucking.
Fucking and ducking.
Fucking. Yeah, and it wasn't until, like, I had a job as a waitress. Sorry to totally interrupt you with the story. But a job as a waitress, and the chef was cutting parsley for something. And I remember just thinking to myself, oh my God, that makes me feel disgusting. I want to vomit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, for the life of me, understand why I didn't want it around me, the smell of just parsley being chopped. I was like, it was so weird. And then the girl I worked with, she was like, are you pregnant? And I was like, nah.
I could never be.
Me? No. I can't
Never.
get pregnant.
I've never had sex.
I know what you're talking about. No. And then, lo and behold, there I was.
Pregnant.
I've done it in the oven.
I completely lost track of where I was.
No, so you weren't using contraception. I
wasn't using contraception. I think we kind of had this discussion afterwards that we thought that maybe he could not be fertile, which he's going to check out on his own. But anyway, the point is, with this guy, I went and got the pill, but my doctor at the time said, don't start taking it until you have your first period. And they tell you to do that to make sure that you're not pregnant when you take it, because then it takes longer to realise you're pregnant, and also it interferes with the pregnancy if you do decide to keep it, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
But I was like, kind of like, oh, can I just take it? Because I knew at the time I wasn't, because I had my period previously, and...
Yeah, and also you weren't actually having sex.
I wasn't having sex with this guy yet. Anyway, funnily enough, the day that I got my pill, we ended up having sex, even though I didn't plan on having sex with him.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that I wasn't on contraception, and he knew that I had went and gotten the pill that day. So he knew that, like, I was totally unprotected, and we had obviously unprotected sex.
Yeah.
And then when he was about to come, I was like, come on me? And he thought I said, come in me?
Oh, no.
Which, regardless of whether I said that or not, he knew I wasn't protected. He should have pulled out regardless of what I said. I mean, obviously we should have been using a condom regardless, but still, he kind of was in, and then he's like, oh, wait, what? Did you say pull out? And then he, like, pulled out, and he was, like, already coming as he pulled out. And then, yeah, I was like, the next day I was like, oh, shit, like, did you pull out in time, blah, blah. He's like, nah, yeah, my pull-out game's strong.
True. True.
And I was like, he's like,
okay.
And I was like, are you sure? Like, I think I might take the morning after pill. And he's like, no, take it in case. Anyway, so I took Plan B. And
we don't have Plan B here. It's called the ECP, but it's the same thing.
I don't know, what did I call it? I don't know. I used to take them like Skittles. Like,
oh my god.
Oi.
Oi.
Emergency contraception.
Yeah.
Contraception, we'll
The
call it.
ECP.
Yeah.
But Plan B, yeah.
Yeah.
Skittles. It's true though.
Taste the rainbow, hun.
So sweet.
Please don't. It's so bad for your fertility.
Yeah, it's really not good.
Anyway, so took the pill, and for about the next 4 weeks or so, I was developing all these symptoms. So my appetite was like through the roof. I would almost ate double, almost triple what I was eating before. I gained 10 kilos over 4 weeks, which is
fucking hell. That's a lot.
4 to 5 weeks, which is crazy for someone like me who's tiny, and I struggle so hard to gain weight.
Yeah, you're little.
I'm really little, and like, yeah, I just have a fast metabolism.
I don't really look at food and put on weight. That happens after you turn 30.
But you got an ass and titties, so it's fine. And yeah, like my boobs are getting really huge, like ridiculously. Like even my man's at the time who I was dating was like, "Are you sure you're not pregnant? Your tits are huge."
Is this the same guy?
This is the same guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy that I dated.
Yeah.
After my first boyfriend. And anyway, so because I was experiencing all these symptoms and I had taken the morning after pill before, I was like, no, my hormones are out of whack because I took this really high dose of hormones, and so my body's freaking out. And so because my period was really late, I was like, no, it's because I took the pill. It does fuck up your cycle, because the way the contraceptive pill works is that it prevents your next coming ovulation.
Yeah.
But the reason why I still got pregnant is because I was ovulating when I was having sex. So literally I just got the worst luck.
That's so funny. Like you only ovulate for literally 1 day in your entire cycle.
Yeah, and that's when I suddenly decided to have sex.
Yeah. Your body obviously wanted it because that's why you're ovulating. So maybe
100%.
you hadn't planned on having sex with this guy.
And I had unreal chemistry with this person, you know, and body chemistry just says, okay, like, you know, chemistry is like actually a scientific thing, is that your bodies can read that you're going to have a healthy pregnancy and that your genetics match really well. That's what like body chemistry actually is.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's like an attraction. You can't even help that it's there.
Yeah. So obviously my body wanted to be pregnant by this man.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, figured out I was pregnant. And at this time, because I didn't know this guy very well. I had started dating him. It was the first time I had sex with him. I knew him for maybe 4 weeks when I figured out I was pregnant. So when I told him, he didn't know how to comfort me. He didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to reassure me. He also like just didn't know how to deal with it. I remember texting him and being like, hey, so I am pregnant. And I sent him like the photo of like the 2 tests that I took. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, what am I doing?
think like for some men particularly, it can be really confronting. Like, men don't really often get the repercussions of these things, do they? It's women who have to deal with contraception most of the time and the abortion. Like, men pretty much can walk around with their dicks out doing whatever the fuck they want.
And men are fertile
and coming
365 days of the year, right?
Literally.
Us, this much.
Like, and 12 times a year. There's one window of the ovulation.
And we have to be protected 24/7 because of that. Anyway, he didn't know how to deal with it, and at the time I was still on speaking terms with my ex, and I don't know, the way we broke up, because I only had broken up with him maybe like a month and a half, maybe 2 months before I got pregnant with another guy, which is pretty heavy at the time because it was like a lot of emotions.
It's a lot to deal with.
A lot to deal with. I was still grieving a breakup, and I still wasn't over him, and we still kind of like had intentions of getting back together in the future.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had met up with him because we had planned to catch up, and then I obviously had to tell him that I was pregnant. And telling him was the first time I actually cried about it, and probably the only time I cried about it over the whole experience. And I don't think it's because I was upset that I was pregnant. I was upset about what he was going to think of me.
I think probably that, and also the fact that you probably didn't feel like you had much support around you. You didn't know anyone else who was pregnant or had a termination. He wasn't your boyfriend anymore, and the other guy was just vacant.
Yeah, he wasn't, supporting.
Those factors altogether would be so overwhelming.
Yeah, so I told him, and like, obviously broke down, and straight away he was like, I'm going to kill him. Where the fuck is he? Blah, blah, blah. Because he was obviously still in love with me, but obviously, clearly.
Obviously.
Probably still is. Anyway, so he was actually amazing and took me to the doctor straight away. Doctor referred me to a clinic. He called the clinic for me and booked my surgery for me.
Fuck.
Which is...
I think I just had doctors do all that for me. It was just like, this time, this day.
Yeah. And then, actually, funnily enough, when I had my abortion, they both came. And which was probably like one of the hardest things because they were just both like trying not to bash each other. And I don't know, I'm pretty lucky that both of them supported and came. Like having two guys support, knowing that only one of them was the actual baby daddy. I'm pretty lucky in that scenario when some girls have no support at all.
Definitely.
But the guy that I got pregnant by wanted to keep the baby.
I think sometimes when push comes to shove, people's true colours do come out, and like regardless, they both would have wanted to be there to support you. Just like my ex-boyfriend at the time. Well, he's my ex now, but he turned up on that day. Yeah, and he was there for me. Yeah, after everything else.
Yeah. So my process of my abortion was a little bit different to yours. I had an ultrasound to begin with, and they asked you like the same kind of things. Have a sheet of questions to kind of see where you are mentally, make sure that you know you're making the right decision for yourself. Yeah. And they face you away from the monitor so you don't actually see your ultrasound.
I saw all of mine.
Yeah, well, I guess...
It was like I was an expectant mother.
Yeah.
And excited.
I guess because they knew that a lot of people change their mind once they see it. They just like... Okay, sorry, technical difficulties. Yeah, so basically I looked at the monitor or whatever. I didn't look at the monitor, but I saw the little photo. And then had my surgery, so they put me under for mine. Yeah. The guy put a needle in me, and then I woke up.
General anaesthetic, yeah.
General anaesthetic, and then I woke up feeling really fine. Like, I remember I came out and, like, there were other girls next to me because I was at an abortion clinic, so they only did abortion surgeries there. So everyone that was beside me had just had one. And they gave us, like, food and crackers to eat because you're, like, pretty, like, tired and stuff. But some of the girls next to me were really out of it and really tired.
Did you take, like, a pill thing first?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so with mine, the first thing I had to do, I wasn't allowed to eat or anything, I think, for, like, something crazy, like the 6 hours before or whatever, and I couldn't drink water. Yeah. And then they give you a pill, and that's kind of what starts the process off. Like, I think that's what kills the embryo. And then that's when I went into surgery.
Yeah, no. Not that I remember. I just had my surgery, and then also when you have your surgery or beforehand, they ask you if they want you to insert any contraception before you're under, so you can get your IUD or your rod or whatever inserted while you're under.
Yeah, that's what I did.
But I had already bought the pill, obviously, that I was waiting to take. But I got pregnant. And then, anyway, came out, felt pretty fine. Like, when I came out, I was like, hey, cool, let's go. And both of them were, like, in shock because I was all, like, pretty chipper. And
Crazy.
they were like, so surprised how much energy you had, because the girl that came out before me was pretty, like, out of it and whatever, stumbling out.
Well, it only takes like 20 minutes as well, which is actually crazy.
I was only in and out from start to beginning for about an hour and a half.
I mean, it was so long ago, I don't really remember.
But that was including ultrasound, going under, recovery time, coming out.
Did you have the ultrasound on the same day?
Yeah. Just before my surgery.
Okay. Yeah, see, my ultrasound was like weeks before, because that was how they determined how far along I was.
Yeah.
And then to go from there.
Yeah, well, they count from your last period. That's how they count how many weeks you are, which was like something I figured out only learnt when I got pregnant, because I was like, I didn't realise it was from your last period that they count the weeks. They don't count from the day you conceived.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had to wait, I think, 7 weeks before I was allowed to have mine, because I think I figured out I was pregnant like a week or two beforehand. And yeah, I just remember, I think the hardest part about my abortion was my ex was my first, and he came from a really strict family and upbringing where they were really religious, and he was like, I can't believe you slept with someone else. Like, I thought it was going to be me and you forever, because he thought that we were like going to get back together. I wasn't going to sleep with anyone else, and that we were always going to be each other's first and only. And he shamed me for that for so long. And he told so many of our mutual relationship friends, you know what I mean? You know, when you're a boyfriend and girlfriend, like, you start to have the same pool of friends. He told so many of them, and they obviously, because they were men, they all were like, she's a slut for doing this and that. Like, she should have waited a month or 2 months before she slept with someone else. I was like,
you can do
no.
you want.
First of all, you had a year of being a shit boyfriend that I gave you chance and chance, time and over again to step up, and you didn't. So as soon as I break up with you, you lose any right to have any opinion on who I sleep with.
Or at all.
At all, yeah.
Like, even if you were still together, you know what I mean? Like, it's not his decision what you do.
Yeah.
It's yours.
It's my body. But yeah, I remember we had this one massive fight, and I will never forget him saying to me that, like, because I guess at the time we had quite a, like, almost like religious, spiritual kind of relationship. And he was like, this happened to you, like, don't you realise this happened to you for a reason? Like, this is God's way of punishing you for sleeping with someone else. Like, you deserve this.
Oh.
Like,
that's disgusting.
I mean, he's apologised for it now, and he knows, like, you know, the broader understanding now. But at the time, because I trusted him so much, and he was like my best friend at the time, that I took his word for gospel. So for the longest time, I was like, I hated myself. I really believed everything that he said. And even to this day, like, no matter how much I hate someone or someone pisses me off, I would never wish an abortion upon anybody.
No.
Or pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy upon anyone. It's
awful.
It's disgusting. Like, anyway.
Like, our bodies naturally are designed to carry a baby to term, really. So, like, to wish that upon someone who has no choice but to, like, terminate their pregnancy is not kind. No. It's not nice. It's like a stillbirth. Like, you don't wish that upon anyone either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so grateful for it now, because it's probably the main reason why I never got back with him, because I had amazing friends at the time that really were like, the only thing that you did wrong was not using contraception, which is true.
Yeah.
And aside from that, like, it's your body. You can sleep with whoever you want. You can have abortion, like, obviously pro-choice. And they were the ones that kind of talked me through what my options were and getting me to a clinic, because that whole time I was almost like in autopilot. Like, I didn't know what was going. I felt like I was on the outside of my body.
Honestly, it's like you go into survival mode. Like, this is why I don't think I really remember too much about it. Aside from it being so long ago, I don't remember how I managed to cope with it afterwards. Like, I didn't spiral into any kind of weird depression or anything. I just kind of was like, okay, cool. Got up and went back to work or went back to school. Like, I didn't have anything else to do.
I remember all my friends at the time that I had told were
Mm.
like, you were handling this so well, like, you're so strong, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like,
what else are you meant
what
to
else
do?
am I meant to
Yeah.
do? Like, this has happened. I've got to do X, Y, and Z. This is the decision I've made. And it wasn't until 9 months later when I realised that this would have been the month I would have had my baby.
Mm.
And I remember just like every day that week I like cried on the bus to work. And I wasn't with that guy anymore, obviously. And I just remember being like so resentful of the fact that I was sitting there dealing with all the emotional trauma and he was just going on with his life like normal. Like,
Yeah.
and just being so upset that it was something that impacted me, that I mean, everyone who wants to be a mum always dreams about the first time they get pregnant being really exciting, and like being really excited to get pregnant, looking forward to the baby, blah. And like, I think I was just so upset that I had lost the privilege to be excited about my first pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But saying that, best thing that ever happened to me, because it got me away from the person that was wrong for me, and it also started like kind of like my self-love journey and like my introduction to what feminism is and equality and everything. That it's definitely like the biggest catalyst of my belief system and who I am today because of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how it's impacted you now, like, we wouldn't know each other, like we said before.
I wouldn't have traveled. I did so much traveling by myself after those two boys, and I would have never moved here, like, ever.
You'd have a child.
I'd have a child.
Like, maybe another one, or who knows, or like you might be in a relationship. Maybe you would never have had that self-love journey
I wouldn't have
or
known who I
discovery
was
of yourself.
No, because I figured out who I was after I broke up with those two guys, because I had obviously had my first love, and we've talked about this, is that you don't really figure out who you are till your first heartbreak.
Yeah.
So my whole like thought phase, self-love journey, being single, figuring out who I am, that all happened after my abortion. So imagine if I never got to experience it. I wouldn't be this bitch.
No, you wouldn't, hands down.
No.
For sure.
And
I guess also these men have benefited from it too.
100%. Like, those guys are both in relationships now.
My ex-boyfriend's got 2 kids and a fiance.
That's wild.
And maybe he's got 3 now. I don't know. But regardless, he got the life that I was never going to give him.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing that could have happened to him, actually.
Exactly. I would never...
I gave him that gift by not having his baby.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
The fruits of my womb.
But not actually.
100%. Like, I knew that guy was not for me that early on. And that's why I could never keep that baby. I think if it was my first boyfriend, I might have. Because I knew his family was really like, if she gets pregnant, we'll take care of it. Like, it's all good, because we had been together for so long. And I had already, like, we had already in our minds thought that we were going to get married anyway. So if it was him, I would have probably kept it. So it's pretty lucky.
Mine, I mean, was kind of my first boyfriend, and his family would have been so supportive. They're Catholic.
That was my...
So the fact that I'm pretty sure his mum was really, really upset when he told her what had happened. Yeah. But like, maybe I've always just been this bitch. I was like, fuck that, I don't care. It's my body, I'm doing what I want.
Yeah, no.
I've always had a sassy attitude.
Me too. I mean, I was 22 when I had mine, so I was already well a woman.
Yeah.
Well opinionated.
But regardless, what kind of... No, that's maybe a bit ruthless, but like, what kind of mother is going to be like, yeah, cool, your 17-year-old girlfriend can have a baby? Like, come on.
No.
Not the one, hun.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll go into kind of the more deeper sides of abortions and the kind of consequences of abortions and benefits. I think in another podcast, and we can talk about contraception, vasectomies,
safe sex.
100%. That's the biggest part.
Well, we've definitely done top listen.
Have I though?
I mean, I've been on contraception ever since.
Yeah, I've
literally been on birth control ever since.
I know 100% hands down, if I got pregnant again, I would keep it. Unless it was like an absolute dud of a human being that was a dad, but I don't see myself sleeping with anyone that I would be okay with being a potential father, because I know that I would keep my baby 100%.
No, I'm good. Just keep on contraception. I'm fine.
I mean, I'm on contraception, but if I somehow got pregnant, because the only guaranteed contraception is abstinence, which,
to be fair, that's
I ain't doing. I ain't practicing that shit. So yeah, I think that's P1.
Yeah,
I think another thing to say is we would love you to feel safe in sharing your abortion stories with us.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's important to start this conversation, which is why we're doing it. So if you guys have any stories that you want to share, and if you're willing for us to post them, we'll do that 100% anonymously.
Yeah.
On our podcast Instagram page. So yeah, feel free to send us a DM and share any of your experiences, because I think that's really nice for women to be there and empower each other, because that's what we do. That's what we do. This is to empower other women.
Yeah.
To make you feel safe and know that this is a safe place for you to share with us.
Exactly. And I think the more comfortable we feel talking about it when it does happen to anyone around us, we know what kind of support is out there, and we know how to better handle these situations. It's the same with sex. Like,
it's exactly the same with sex.
Yeah.
We just want you to be making really educated and informed choices.
Exactly.
And if we are the fairy thought mothers to you women, and men, or whoever, then that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for listening.
And watching.
Deuces.
Deuces.
That's it for this episode, fam. Thanks for listening.
If you have any questions, topics, or suggestions, you can DM us on Instagram. The link is in our bio.
And don't forget, whose pussy is this?
It's
yours. Deuces.
Bye.